So what is the best action camera on the market? The DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro or the GoPro Hero 13 Black? Well, in this video, compare them both side by side so you know which one is right for you. Now, before we dive into the comparison between both of these cameras, I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by DJI. They kindly sent us out the Osmo Action 5 Pro and the GoPro Hero 13 for me to test out. But rather than just sharing my own opinion, I thought it would be interesting if we broke this video down into different categories and award a point to each camera to see which one will come out on top. For our first category, we have image quality, and both the GoPro and the DJI Action 5 Pro shoot high quality video, especially in daylight. The GoPro might appear to have slightly more detail thanks to its 5.3K resolution versus the Action 5 Pro, which tops out at 4K. Now, taking a look at the color quality between both of these cameras, the GoPro definitely leans to be a slightly warmer image. And I noticed that the reds tend to be emphasized in the shadows. But I do like the contrast that the GoPro provides and gives you a very natural look. On the other hand, the DJI tends to have a really accurate white balance, but you do notice this HDR kind of processed look, especially in the skies where you notice that the blue parts of the sky seems to be very vibrant, almost too saturated. There are times where the GoPro looks better, where it has better contrast and just a more filmic look to it. But then there are other times where the Action 5 Pro looks better and you have more dynamic range and capture more highlights in your image. So really the point could go to either of these cameras depending on what your preferences are. However, I think for most people, they'll tend to prefer the image coming out of the DJI. So we'll give a point to the Action 5 Pro. For our next category, we have resolution and frame rates. The GoPro Hero 13 can record 5.3K all the way up to 60 frames per second. Or there is a pretty unique 8:7 aspect ratio mode, which you can record 5.3K up to 30 frames per second. And on the Action 5 Pro, you can record 4K up to 120 frames per second, or if you're shooting in the 4:3 aspect ratio, 4K up to 60 frames per second. So the winner here goes to the GoPro with its higher resolution. When it comes to slow motion, both of these cameras can do 4K at 120 frames per second. However, if we drop our resolution down, we can shoot up to 240 frames per second. However, the Action 5 Pro will top out at 1080p in terms of resolution at that frame rate, and the GoPro will shoot at 2.7K. So the GoPro has a little bit more resolution to work with and will give us a little bit better image quality when it comes to shooting at those high frame rates. But not only that, the GoPro Hero 13 has a few extra slow motion features, including a special burst mode that allows you to shoot 5.3K up to 120 frames per second. And if you are shooting on the slow motion mode, the GoPro will actually maintain stabilization, whereas the Action 5 Pro will not. So the winner here goes to the GoPro, earning another point. When it comes to log recording, both of these cameras now can shoot in their own log profiles up to 10-bit video quality, which is going to be great if you plan on doing a lot of color grading. However, the DJI will allow you to preview a color corrected version as you are recording, which is super helpful if you are trying to judge exposure. Whereas on the GoPro, it's just going to remain a flat image. So the point here will go to the Action 5 Pro. Next up, we have stabilization, and honestly, on both of these cameras, you're gonna get a really smooth and stable shot. This is really impressive on both of these action cameras. So if you are vlogging and filming yourself, you're not gonna really ever have to worry about getting a lot of camera shake. The Osmo Action 5 Pro has a feature called horizon balancing, and this is gonna help keep your horizons nice and level as you are recording, which is super helpful if you are filming yourself. You can even go as far as rotating this a full 360 degrees if you are shooting in the 2.7K mode. However, if you are shooting in 4K, you are limited to how far you can actually move the camera, about 45 degrees. Now, the GoPro also has this horizon leveling feature. However, you can go a full 360 while still shooting at 5.3K. So with that and my general experience with the stabilization modes, we're gonna give the point over to the GoPro. Next up, we have low light performance, and action cameras are notorious for having really bad image quality in low light. They have a really small sensor, so it's just gonna be a lot harder, and you're always gonna get better looking images if you are shooting in bright light. But for those times where you are shooting in low light conditions, the Action 5 Pro has a little bit of a larger sensor and has dramatically better low light performance compared to the GoPro, which gets very noisy, very grainy, and just doesn't get as bright. So the clear winner in terms of low light is the DJI. Moving on to the audio quality. If you are using the microphones built into this camera to record your videos, the Action 5 Pro is going to sound much more clear and present versus the GoPro. It kind of sounds a little bit muffled, which is a little bit disappointing. So here's an audio test between both of these cameras. We have the Action 5 Pro, and now we're listening to the GoPro Hero 13. Now, from their inboard audio quality, I do think that the Action 5 Pro sounds just a little bit better compared to the GoPro. The other major benefit of the Action 5 Pro is you can connect their DJI wireless mics to it, so the Mic 2 or the Mic Mini, and the built-in receiver on the Action 5 Pro. You just get really good audio quality with those wireless mics. Compared to the GoPro, you can connect Bluetooth microphones, so you can connect the DJI Mic Mini to Bluetooth, although the audio quality does not sound good at all. And so now I have clipped on the DJI Mic Mini to both of these cameras. This is what it sounds like on the Osmo Action 5 Pro. And then if I switch over to the GoPro and it's using Bluetooth, it does not sound nearly as good at all. So if you're looking for the best audio solution, the Action 5 Pro takes the lead. Let's talk about the storage. Both of these cameras record to micro SD cards. And if you're shooting with the GoPro in those higher resolutions, 5.3K, you'll want to pick up a pretty good size SD card so that way you have plenty of time to record on. I do notice that the GoPro tends to fill up a lot more, so that's something you want to be aware of. The Action 5 Pro, on the other hand, not only records some micro SD cards, but also has a built-in storage of 47 gigabytes. This feature alone can literally save your shoot. If you've ever forgotten to bring an SD card, you'll know the pain of arriving to a shoot and not having one. So the ability just to switch over to the internal storage if your micro SD card fills up or you didn't bring one, the huge point goes to the Action 5 Pro in this case. Now, when we're talking about battery life, after shooting all morning, grabbing different example footage, I looked to check the battery life on both of the cameras, and the GoPro was around 20 to 30%, and the Action 5 Pro was something like 60 or 70% battery still going. That is a pretty big difference. This means I would definitely need to swap the battery at least once throughout the day, whereas on the Action 5 Pro, I could still continue to keep shooting. And not only that, one thing I really do appreciate of the Action 5 Pro is if you pick up the Adventure Combo, it comes with this little wireless charging case that can store up to 3 different batteries, as well as 2 micro SD cards up top. So literally you can just take this with you, and the moment your Action 5 Pro dies, swap out your battery and you're good to go. So in terms of battery life, the Action 5 Pro here is the clear winner. Okay, so I know we covered a lot of very technical things, but more practically, what was the ease of use like between both of these cameras? From the moment you turn on the Action 5 Pro, I felt like it was all very intuitive to be able to adjust your resolution, your frame rate. Having the touchscreen on the back and on the front made adjusting a lot easier throughout my day. When I had both these cameras rigged up to my scooter, I was able to control the settings a lot easier on the Action versus the GoPro. I had to walk around, swipe around, adjust settings, and then come back. However, there were a couple things I really did like about the GoPro. So if I were to remove this, on the bottom of the GoPro, you have this built-in GoPro mount. So anytime you need to attach an accessory to a different mount, it's built in. You don't have to remember to bring this. Not only that, there's a quarter 20 on the bottom as well. So you're never out of the need if you need to mount this to a tripod. You always have that feature. Whereas the Action 5 Pro, you have to use this magnetic mount and a little adapter in order to attach it to a tripod, which adds some extra bulk. So I thought that was really well thought out on the GoPro, but when it comes to the overall experience and ease of use between these cameras, I do find myself liking the Action 5 Pro a little bit more. So let's talk about some of the range of accessories you can pick up with either of these cameras. Starting off with the Action 5 Pro, DJI does sell the FOV boost lens, which will give you an even wider field of view. And they also make a range of ND filters that slot onto the Action 5 Pro's lens, so you can also adjust exposure that way. Now, when we're discussing the GoPro, there are obviously a ton of accessories since GoPro has been around forever, but even more so with the Hero 13. For example, the GoPro has a variety of lens options to choose from: a wide angle lens, a macro lens, and even an anamorphic lens. And all you have to do if you want to attach a lens is take off this front cover, And what you'll notice is there's actually like this little smart connection. So anytime you apply a new lens or a filter, it's going to talk to the GoPro and it's going to adjust its settings accordingly. And I found this feature particularly useful with their set of ND filters. So when you attach a new filter onto your GoPro, it's going to tell the camera to make sure your motion blur is properly set. I didn't have to adjust anything, just put on the ND filter and I was good to go. And there's even this little indicator on the back that tells you if you have the right strength of ND filter or if you need to swap it out for more strength or less strength. So this implementation of this ND filter is such a nice feature, and it's something I definitely wish would come to the next DJI Action camera. So for this category, we're gonna give the point to the GoPro. And then we have price. Taking a look at the GoPro Hero 13, it costs $400 new, and the Action 5 Pro costs $350. And both companies also offer different combos if you are interested in that, but in general, the Action 5 Pro is going to be a little bit more friendly on your wallet. All right, so after putting both cameras to the test across multiple categories, let's see how the final points stack up. The GoPro Hero 13 Black finishes with 4 points, and the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro takes the lead with a total of 8 points. That makes the DJI the overall winner in this comparison. It excels at a lot of different categories, from low light, battery life, the storage option, the audio quality. All these things make it a really well-rounded action camera for your needs. But that doesn't mean that the Hero 13 Black is a bad camera. In fact, it's far from it. It has excellent stabilization, high resolution video, and the versatility of the lens mods and ND filters allows you to customize your camera and makes it a solid choice for content creation. But which camera fits your needs best? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you are debating between the Action 5 Pro and the DJI Pocket 3, then be sure to check out this video where I do a side-by-side comparison.